Jennifer Llewellyn co-authored today's report. She says the restorative justice process was educational for all parties involved and was the right way to move forward. Jennifer Llewellyn joins me now live from Halifax. So glad you could be part of the program, Jennifer. Are things fixed? Is it a happy, healthy environment? We can all go home and say it's done?
No, I don't think that that's the message out of today's report. I think what today's report says is that what we've done is a very thorough investigation. We've brought together all of the parties that can help us understand what needs to be fixed in the long term. I think that we can declare that this was a success in the sense that the parties engaged well together, built a lot of knowledge about what actually is going on, both for the men and the women in that class who participated in terms of the Facebook page, but also more broadly in terms of the Faculty of Dentistry and the climate and culture there, and for all of us in terms of the climate and culture at the university, and more broadly the profession was engaged and had an opportunity to think about what can we learn from this and what must we learn from this and where do we go next.
All right, so let me put those questions to you. What did you learn from it, or what did the school, the community, those involved learn from it?
Right, I think they had an opportunity, I think at different levels they learned, right? I think the faculty and the university have had a real opportunity through this process to reflect and learn more deeply about the experience of their students and their faculty and their staff within the Faculty of Dentistry, and to do that with an eye to recognizing that faculty is likely not much different than other faculties on campus, and we really need to start to ask deeper questions about how are we treating one another, how are we accommodating and making space for difference and to include one another, and how are we ensuring that there are ways to respond when that is not going well.
So what are the ramifications of this for, and you know, what's done is done, you've dealt with it, you've come out with the report on restorative justice, let's leave that part. Let's look ahead. So next year's graduating class, 5 years from now's graduating class, if they feel they can go through a restorative process and still graduate, have you accomplished anything?
No, I think that I think you ask a great question in terms of where the impacts will be of this report and of this process, and how long we need to be measuring what the success of this has been, right? Which is, you know, we don't just look now and say, you know, those who've participated have participated and engaged deeply and have committed to change and are on the path to that change. We'll also need to be keeping an eye for, are things different? And I think that is the commitment that you see coming out of the report. I don't think we've sent a message by this that you can do whatever you want and it'll just be easy. I think there's been 5 very intensive months. I think no one has a better sense of that than the community at the Faculty of Dentistry, and I think they see that that work will continue ahead.
You know, I don't usually go into the hypothetical, but I am going to in this case. So if this were to happen, incidents of misogyny, and it's hard to, you know, erase that from our culture, but if they were to happen, would you then come back on my program and say, you know what, those 5 months have not been a success because it happened again?
No, I mean, I think that what we've engaged in here is not a trivial exercise of trying to band-aid this and assume that that will fix the problem. You know, I think that what we've done is to use this as a catalyst process, right? Yeah. So this is a start of looking at all of the issues. I wouldn't be at all shocked if in the future we come back in your institution, in my institution, in other places and say, you know, could this happen again? Yeah, it could, which is why actually we need to be committed to the long haul of ensuring that we are working diligently on the ways in which we're connecting and relating with one another.
So what's the next step then? How do you take this process further?
So I think the next step for the Faculty of Dentistry and for Dalhousie is actually charted fairly well in terms of the report. They've begun already to articulate what those ideas are. They have processes in place at the faculty to take those next steps. So quite immediately, they've already, you know, undergone some changes to their manuals and procedures out of these reflections. So as they saw those issues, they started to address them, and they also have some plans in place for looking at orientation and for looking at ways in which students engage. So I think you've already seen that active role beginning, and I think we can anticipate that into the future. For the university, I think they will take this as an exemplar of the kind of learning they need to do, but also the changes that might need to be made, and they're going to have some really important and significant help in that, I would imagine, from the external task force, who are going to bring some expert eyes to what other ideas and significant steps forward could we take from some of their knowledge about changing climate and culture more broadly.